You are not gonna believe what I got to do today. There are so many options for my future, so I'm gonna look around now while I have the chance. Join me as I explore the world of work. Today I'm at the Sullivan County Federation for the Homeless.
My name is Kathy Kreiter, and I am the Program Administrator / Director of the Sullivan County Federation for the Homeless. We are primarily, our first and foremost duty to the community is to be a community food kitchen, so we serve meals Monday through Friday. We also have a food pantry every Friday, and we also have a housing program serving people with HIV and AIDS. And we do lots of referrals. We work very closely with a lot of the other communities, and that's kind of what we do. This is our dining room and slash food storage area at this moment in time. You can ask me about that later. We serve lunch, hot lunch every day, Monday through Thursday actually, and then Friday we do serve the lunch, but we have a pantry as well. What does that mean? Well, a pantry generally means we give folks about a bag, about 15 or 20 pounds worth of frozen meat, and then there's a bag with kind of what we call pantry staples, so that would be pasta, sauce, canned veggies, tuna fish, peanut butter, and things like that. Things you might find in anybody's home on any given day,
Right.
And you want to find them there. So that's kind of what we do. We also give away hygiene products and diapers, and a lot of folks donate to us, like if they travel, and you go to a hotel or a motel and you get those little conditioners and shampoos they would get. They usually put them in a little bag, and then when they get a bunch of them, they bring them to us. Sometimes different organizations like the Rotary do drives where it's kind of like the care closet at the high school, and we give out those products as much as we can.
Great, so you clearly do serve a lot of people. How many meals or packages do you make a day?
Okay, so meal-wise, we're doing about, it's kind of, the numbers are down for meals right now, and again, you'll ask me about that later. So we're serving about 40 meals a day. That's not people, that's meals, because we allow people to take meals home to their families. On Fridays, when we have pantries, we are serving between 60 and 80 families, and generally several hundred meals every Friday.
Coming here to the Federation for the Homeless, it made me realize that kids like me might need food, and they can come here and get all your essential needs, such as rice, applesauce, pastas, cereals, all the stuff that you might need on a daily basis.
We also give out dog food and cat food. We get that from the regional food bank as well, and that was started through a foundation called the Kaplan Foundation, because they had a dog that was like their child, and he was called Jazzy. And when he passed away, they wanted to do something in his honor, so they reached out to the food banks around the state, and they granted each food bank X amount of dollars to purchase either donated or salvage type products.
As you may know, I love animals, and I'm super happy how the Federation for the Homeless provides food for animals and humans, so you don't have to choose whether to feed yourself or your animal.
I'm sure you've heard of the different food groups, and we try very hard. We always have to have a starch, so we have the pasta and the bread as a starch.
Yep.
The protein is the beans and the hot dog, and there probably is a little bit of chili mixed in there, and the corn is the veggie. And then generally we're either giving out a fresh piece of fruit out there, or we're giving out a little cup of applesauce, or we're giving in some form or fashion fruit.
Right.
And we also generally we always give bottles of water, but we also give out like cups of juice, 100% juice, because you know.
need to be hydrated and you need to eat.
Exactly.
It must be hard not being able to get food or make a meal for yourself, but coming here, you can get your own meal made right from the door. And it has an amazing nutritional value. You have fruits, pastas, meats, all your needs. What kind of training or education would you need to be in your position?
So that's a good question, and it varies. So generally, you would need a 2 to 4 year degree, and I say that because You might have a 4-year degree or more, but you might have a 2-year degree, but you have experience doing something that lends itself to this type of work. So sometimes jobs look for not only how much education, formal education you have, but how much life experience you have as well. So this is a picture of Rabbi Polonsky, and Rabbi Polonsky was one of the first folks on the original committee that founded the soup kitchen across town, as I mentioned to you, back in 1987. He also had a lot to do with this building, which when I was growing up back in the covered wagon days was a Jewish community center. But we love having his picture there because it reminds us of good people who do good things and how they last. When you start something good, you know, people pick it up and run with it. It's a beautiful thing.
That's great.
Okay?
Can you please tell me how COVID has affected your agency?
Sure. So in so many ways. As I mentioned when we came in, this is the dining room. So normally you would not see big bags of food sitting here, nor would you see anything on our the tables, nor would you probably see a lot of the food that you're seeing stacked up around here. But when COVID came, we shut down March 13th of last year, all our indoor operations. So prior to that, folks would come in through that door, they would check in at that counter, sign their name or whatever they did, gave their information. All these tables were empty and pulled out, and we had a hotline here. So Mike would bring out the food and there would be pans of food. People would walk up and say, "Hi, how are you?" And we would give them their food as they walked down the line, and then they would sit down and enjoy their meal with their family or their friends or however they liked to do. It was very communal, which is a big piece of what's missing for folks right now, because a lot of people really came here for different reasons. They need the food. They need companionship. Senior citizens sitting at home, being alone. So that really changed things. We stopped serving breakfast early on because we found that, again, most people that were breakfast was never our heaviest meal, but when most people were coming for breakfast, they were coming for the camaraderie and coming, and like people would go to the diner for a cup of coffee, people would come here. We saw that it wasn't really as big of a need. We always keep food on hand, so no matter what, when we're here, people can get anything that we have to give them, but we didn't officially serve breakfast anymore. So that's why this looks different. We used a tent for about the first 3 months of COVID, and we served outside and out of a tent, like a pop-up tent from my house. And we had a clear shower curtain wrapped around it and all of the precautions that we could possibly take. And we served our food out of there. That's when we started going to bags. So prior to COVID, this table along here would be set up not dissimilar to what it is right now. And people would come in, but they wouldn't sit down on pantry day. They would just come in, sign in, walk up here, and come to the end of the line with their own bags and their own things. And they would walk along and say, "I would like that." "Oh, no, thank you, I don't want this." "Yes, I would love that." And they got to pick and choose. It was called client choice.
Right.
When COVID hit, that just wasn't very practical, especially during the winter time when it was very difficult for the folks we served and the folks who were serving to be out in the cold. So we went to the bag method. So in here are pantry staples, as I mentioned a little earlier. So there's rice and fruit, canned fruit and cereal and all the things that you might find in anybody's cupboard that you would want to find in someone's cupboard.
That's great how you didn't have to fully shut down during the pandemic and you're still helping families alike.
We work very hard to do that. We're a nonprofit organization, as is Boys and Girls Club. Some are bigger, some are smaller. We're pretty small, and we're very small in staff. And we really all are cross-trained to do each other's jobs as best we can. Well, I'm cross-trained to do everybody's job. So during COVID, we had a staff member who was very sick with COVID very early on and was out, and I came in and was doing all the cooking as well as whatever I do in the office. You have to be willing to depend on your volunteers, but at that time, we were trying to limit the amount of people who were coming in and out of the building. So sometimes I'm just saying it can be challenging for a small nonprofit to function, but we were very grateful to have a lot of support from the community, and we managed to do it by just changing. You have to be willing to change, and you have to think ahead to, what can you see next, right? And we also have a partnership with ARC of Sullivan and Orange counties, and folks that work for them come and volunteer. In fact, some of them are here right now. And they volunteer for us, and they go and pick up they go and pick up our food for us. So we get usually frozen meats and any kind of dairy product, cake, bread, all those types of things we receive Monday, Wednesday, and Friday every week. This is the food palace.
So this is where you normally serve.
This is where we normally serve. The only reason it looks like this today is because we're expecting a big truck, a big delivery, and we decided to move the food service over there since it was sunny out today. Otherwise, we would be serving out of.
I'm full. But before I leave, I'm going to ask this question. If you could give your 11-year-old self advice or words of wisdom to prepare yourself for the world of work, what would it be?
I would have to say it's stick with what you know. That would be my advice. Don't try to make yourself or invent yourself into something that you're not. No matter what field you choose to go in, no matter what kind of schooling you choose to have or not, stick with what you know. If you are a helper, as I was mentioning before, then you're probably in the right place for a nonprofit world. But you know, lots of folks in lots of different aspects of life are helpers, so it's not just that. It's just be true to yourself. Don't try to invent yourself into something that you think somebody wants you to be, because when you're true to yourself, you do your best work.